There are moments in life when you stand at a crossroads, uncertain of which way to go. The choices seem vast, the consequences significant, and the heart is torn between what feels familiar and what feels right. You've invested your time, your love, and perhaps your very soul into someone, only to feel a whisper in your spirit, a gentle yet undeniable nudge from God, urging you to let go. How do you know when it's time? How do you discern His will amidst the noise of your emotions and desires? As C.S. Lewis once wrote, when we lose one blessing, another is often most unexpectedly given in its place. And yet, when faced with the possibility of loss, we often find ourselves clinging to the very things that may not be in our best interest. God, in His infinite wisdom, is constantly at work, shaping our lives, and sometimes that means letting go of relationships, dreams, and people who may not be part of His greater plan for us. It's not a punishment, it's a promise that He knows better than we do. Welcome to C.S. Lewis. Here, you will discover the path to a deeper and more meaningful relationship with God. Before we continue, please remember to subscribe below to stay up to date with our latest videos. Every subscribe, like, and comment helps us keep the C.S. Lewis channel going. Now, keep listening. If we were to be honest with ourselves, many of us have been in relationships that have caused us to question the very fabric of our faith. Perhaps you've been hurt, betrayed, or neglected by someone you love deeply. It's painful, no doubt, but as painful as it is, it often serves a higher purpose. For just as the master potter shapes the clay with careful hands, God, too, allows life's most painful moments to mold and refine us. These wounds are not in vain. They serve to teach us, to guide us, and to prepare us for something greater. You may ask, why does God allow this pain? Why does He let people hurt us? The answer is as profound as it is simple. He is clearing the path ahead. C.S. Lewis reminded us that experience is a brutal teacher, but you learn. Sometimes God allows the very people who are closest to us to wound us deeply, because it's the only way for us to see the cracks in the relationships we hold dear. He wants to show us what is truly worth holding on to, and what needs to be released. Imagine, for a moment, that you are the master potter, shaping a beautiful vase. You're working diligently, every movement purposeful, every detail intentional. But suddenly, you notice cracks hidden beneath the surface. Cracks that, if left unchecked, will cause the entire creation to shatter. In that moment, what do? Do you throw the clay away? No, you press on, you reshape it, and you remove the imperfections, knowing that the process will lead to something far more beautiful than before. That is what God does in our lives. He allows us to experience the heartache, the betrayal, and the disappointment, because it's in those moments that He reveals to us the areas of our lives that need healing. Sometimes we hold on to relationships out of fear. Fear of being alone, fear of facing the unknown, fear of stepping into the future without the people we once thought were meant to walk beside us. But God's plan is always bigger than our fears. His love is always deeper than our pain. When He shows us that a relationship is not meant to continue, it is not to hurt us. It is to free us, to lead us to a future that is far more glorious than we could ever imagine. And so, the first sign that God may not want you in a relationship is this: God allows them to hurt you. This is not a sign of cruelty, but of care. Just as a physician may allow a wound to be cleaned before it can heal, so too does God allow the wounds of the heart to be exposed. He does this because He loves you too much to leave you in a relationship that will harm your soul. The pain you feel is not without purpose. It is the process of refinement, the clearing away of what is not meant for you. Take, for instance, the story of Joseph in the Bible. Betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, and cast aside by those who were supposed to love him, Joseph's life seemed to be a series of unfortunate events. And yet, it was through these very trials that God was shaping him into the leader he was destined to become. Without those trials, Joseph would not have been able to save his family from famine, nor would he have risen to a place of honor and influence. The pain he experienced was not in vain. It was preparation for his future. God had a purpose in his suffering, just as he has a purpose in yours. As Lewis wisely noted, the pain I feel now is the happiness I had before. That's the deal. The pain you feel now, the heartbreak, the confusion, it will not last forever. God will use it to teach you, to shape you, and to prepare you for something better. Trust that the wounds will heal, that the lessons will be learned, and that you will emerge stronger, wiser, and more aligned with His divine plan. In the quiet moments when you find yourself questioning, wondering if you are doing the right thing, remember this: God's love is always guiding you, even when the path seems unclear. His will is perfect, even when it doesn't make sense. He is always at work, reshaping your life for His glory. And just as the potter shapes the clay, He is molding you into something beautiful, something eternal. In the next chapter, we will explore sign 2, the way in which your life begins to collapse when you are holding on to the wrong relationship. But for now, reflect on this first sign. When God allows pain in your life, it is not to destroy you, but to prepare you for a future of greater beauty and purpose. Trust in His plan, even when it hurts. There comes a point in every life when the walls begin to crumble. It may not happen all at once. Often, it is a slow erosion, a quiet disintegration that we fail to notice at first. But eventually, the cracks become impossible to ignore. The peace that once filled your heart begins to fade, and the stability you thought was yours slips away like sand through your fingers. When this happens, it's more than just bad luck. It's a clear sign that God is intervening. In those moments when your life seems to fall apart, when your relationships, finances, and even your mental health start to spiral, it's tempting to think that God is punishing you. You might even ask, why me? But in reality, He is rescuing you. He's shaking the very foundation of your life, forcing you to see the cracks that threaten to ruin you. It's not a punishment, it's an act of mercy. C.S. Lewis once said, "We are not metaphorically, but in very truth, a divine work of art. God is the artist, and you are His creation." Sometimes in the process of creation, there must be a breaking down of the old in order for something new to take shape. Like a house built on shifting sand, the foundations of your relationships, your emotional well-being, or your life itself may start to shift, leaving you feeling as though everything you've built is falling apart. But this collapse is necessary. Imagine, for a moment, that you are standing in a house that is slowly falling apart. The roof is leaking, the floorboards are creaking, and the walls seem ready to cave in at any moment. It is a terrifying experience, but you know deep down that it is not a matter of if the house will collapse, but when. The real question is, do you stay in that house, clinging to its crumbling walls, or do you leave before it all comes crashing down? God is not cruel in allowing your life to crumble. He is rescuing you from something far worse. When your life begins to unravel, It is a sign that God is showing you that the foundation is no longer strong enough to support you. If you keep holding on to the wrong relationships, the wrong choices, you are simply prolonging the inevitable collapse. As Lewis wisely put it, you can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. When everything around you begins to fall apart, it is not the end. It is the beginning of something new. God is giving you the chance to rebuild, to start again, but this time on a foundation that is sure and steadfast. But in order to do so, you must first let go. God's mercy often comes in the form of destruction. He allows the walls to come down so that you can see what has been hidden beneath the surface, the false stability, the brokenness, the things that have been holding you back. It may feel painful, even terrifying, but it is His way of showing you that you cannot keep living this way. You cannot keep clinging to the broken things. Letting go is not a sign of weakness. It is an act of faith. Think back to the story of the Israelites in the wilderness. They were constantly complaining, longing to return to Egypt, to the life they knew, even though that life was full of suffering and oppression. They were unwilling to trust God's plan, even when it meant leaving behind the comfort of the familiar. But God, in His infinite wisdom, led them through the wilderness to a land of promise, a land far better than anything they had ever known. But first, they had to leave Egypt behind. So too, must you leave behind the relationships and choices that are not aligned with God's will. The collapse of your life, the crumbling of what you once thought was stable, is actually an invitation to trust Him, to surrender the broken pieces, and allow Him to rebuild you in His image. The process may be painful, but it is through this pain that you will emerge stronger, wiser, and more equipped to face the future He has prepared for you. In the Bible, Jesus speaks of a wise man who built his house upon a rock. When the storms came, the house stood firm. But the foolish man built his house upon the sand. And when the storms came, the house collapsed. It's a simple metaphor, but a powerful one. The storm will come. It always does. The question is, what is your house built upon? If your foundation is the approval of others, the stability of a toxic relationship, or the pursuit of fleeting comforts, your house will eventually collapse. But if your foundation is built on Christ, you will stand firm, even in the midst of the storm. God is shaking your life, not to destroy you, but to help you rebuild it on something unshakable. And when the dust settles, you will find yourself standing in a life that is far more glorious than the one you left behind. This leads us to sign 3, the lack of the fear of God. But before we dive into that, take a moment to reflect on the lessons of this chapter. When your life begins to crumble, do not despair. See it for what it is, an opportunity for God to reveal the cracks in your life and to guide you towards something better. Trust in His mercy and know that He is working even in the destruction. There is a great mystery in the world of relationships, and it is one that is often overlooked. It is a mystery that, if understood, can completely transform the way we see love, respect, and commitment. This mystery is the fear of God. But what does it truly mean to have the fear of God? Is it a trembling fear that makes us shrink away from His presence? Or is it something deeper, something that resonates in the heart and soul, transforming everything it touches? The fear of God is not about being terrified of Him. It is about reverence, awe, and respect for His holiness. It is a recognition that He is the Creator, and we are His creation. It is an understanding that, without Him, Nothing in life has meaning. And when this fear is present in a relationship, it becomes the foundation for everything that follows. C.S. Lewis once said, "You can make anything by writing," but here, he could just as easily be speaking of relationships. A relationship is shaped by the foundation upon which it is built. If the fear of God is absent, the relationship becomes like a building without a solid foundation, destined to crumble when the storms of life come. Without this foundational respect for the divine, love becomes weak, vulnerable, and unreliable. Relationships without the fear of God are like a ship without a rudder, adrift, lost, and without purpose. When you are in a relationship with someone who lacks the fear of God, you are not merely dealing with someone who has different beliefs or practices. You are dealing with someone who lacks the moral compass that guides true love. Without reverence for God's commands, there is no restraint, no self-control, and no moral direction. Without these qualities, the relationship is doomed to fail, because love cannot thrive in chaos. It cannot grow in a place where respect and honor are absent. Imagine for a moment that you are on a journey, walking through a dense forest. The path is unclear, and the trees are thick, obscuring your view. In this situation, it is easy to lose your way, to stumble, or to become lost. But now, imagine that ahead of you is a shining light, a beacon that guides your every step. This light is the fear of God. It is the wisdom and moral clarity that He provides, lighting the path of true love, helping you to navigate the difficult terrain of relationships. Without this light, the journey is dangerous and the destination uncertain. The fear of God in a relationship means that both people are committed to walking in truth, to honoring God's commands, and to loving one another with the respect and reverence that He deserves. It is a mutual understanding that the relationship is not about fulfilling personal desires, but about honoring God and serving one another with humility and grace. But what happens when the fear of God is absent? What happens when someone does not honor God in their life or their relationships? The answer is simple. The relationship falls apart. It may seem fine for a time, as all things built on shaky ground often do, but sooner or later, the cracks begin to show, and the house built on sand collapses under the weight of conflict, selfishness, and sin. In the Bible, we are reminded that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Proverbs 9:10. Wisdom is the foundation upon which a lasting relationship is built. Without it, the relationship is destined to falter, for love without wisdom is blind. If someone lacks the fear of God, they will not respect the boundaries that love requires. They will not honor the needs of the other person, nor will they hold themselves accountable to the higher moral standards that God commands. This lack of respect for God can manifest in many ways. It can lead to selfishness, manipulation, and even abuse. It can cause one person to take advantage of the other, exploiting their love and trust for personal gain. In such a relationship, one partner becomes a parasite, feeding off the other without giving anything in return. And while this may feel like love for a time, it is nothing more than a dangerous illusion. For true love is not self-serving. It is sacrificial. It is founded on the fear of God, and it is expressed in kindness, patience, and understanding. The lack of the fear of God is a glaring sign that a relationship is not meant to last. If the foundation of your relationship is built on anything less than the fear and respect of God, then you are building your house on sand. And when the storms of life come, and they will, the house will collapse. God is showing you this for a reason. He is giving you a sign that this relationship is not in alignment with His will, and that you must make the difficult decision to walk away before it is too late. When you find yourself in a relationship with someone who does not respect God, take it as a warning. God is speaking to you, showing you that this relationship is not healthy for you, not because He wants to see you suffer, but because He knows that you deserve better. He knows that you are worthy of a love that is rooted in His fear, a love that is guided by His wisdom and His truth. It may be painful to let go, but remember that God always has something better in store for you. His plan for your life is filled with peace, joy, and love. A love that is not fleeting, but eternal. If you are currently in a relationship where the fear of God is absent, do not ignore the signs. Take them seriously. Pray for wisdom and guidance, and trust that God will lead you to the right path. Trust that He has a better plan for you, a plan that will bring you peace, fulfillment, and joy, a plan that will bring you closer to Him. In the next chapter, we will explore sign 4, the constant struggles and conflicts that can arise in a relationship when it is not built on God's foundation. But for now, reflect on this. The fear of God is not merely a suggestion. It is the cornerstone of any meaningful, lasting relationship. When God is at the center, everything else falls into place. Life, in its purest form, is not meant to be a battleground. Yet for many, the relationships they endure feel exactly like that. A constant war, an unending cycle of conflict that drains the spirit and wears down the heart. Perhaps you've been in a relationship where arguments arise at the slightest provocation, where misunderstandings grow into mountains, and where peace feels like a distant dream. If this resonates with you, there is something you need to understand. Endless conflict is not a sign that you should try harder, endure longer, or fight to make things work. It is a sign that God is calling you to stop and reflect. For peace is His will for you, not chaos. C.S. Lewis, in his characteristic wisdom, once observed that God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pains. The constant struggles in your relationship are not mere inconveniences. They are God's way of shouting at you, urging you to wake up, to see what you might otherwise be blind to. When everything in your relationship feels like an uphill battle, it is time to stop fighting against the current and ask yourself, is this the path God intended for me? Is this relationship a source of growth, peace, and mutual love? Or is it something that is draining me, causing me to lose sight of His will for my life? Imagine for a moment that you are sailing a boat on a turbulent sea. Every time you try to move forward, you are met with fierce winds and waves crashing against you. The ship lurches, the sails tear, and you find yourself making no progress at all. Despite your best efforts, you cannot reach the shore. This is what it feels like when you are in a relationship that is perpetually marked by conflict. No matter how hard you try, no matter how much effort you put in, you simply cannot seem to move forward. The relationship is stuck, trapped in a cycle of frustration and pain. But there is another way. Just as the sailor must recognize that the storm is too great to fight alone, so too must you recognize when a relationship is beyond repair, when it is pulling you away from God's peace. God does not call you to live in constant turmoil. He does not want you to endure conflict after conflict, argument after argument without resolution. Instead, He calls you to peace. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you, Jesus said, John 14:27. This peace is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of God's calming spirit in the midst of it. It is the assurance that, no matter how fierce the storm may be, He will guide you through it and lead you to calmer waters. The struggles you face in your relationship may seem overwhelming, but they are not signs that you are supposed to fight harder. They are signs that it is time to stop fighting and to surrender to God's will. It is time to step back and assess the situation with clarity, with prayer, and with discernment. Ask yourself, is this relationship leading me toward greater intimacy with God, or is it drawing me further away from Him? Am I becoming more of the person He created me to be, or am I losing myself in the chaos of endless arguments and frustration? In his writings, C.S. Lewis often reflected on the human tendency to resist God's intervention, to cling to our own ways, even when they lead us down paths of destruction. You can make anything by writing, he said, suggesting that we are the authors of our own lives. But if we write the story of our lives without God as the guide, the narrative is bound to become convoluted and painful. The truth is that God has written a far better story for you than you could ever write for yourself. His story is filled with peace, love, and joy, but only if you surrender your will to Him. When you find yourself trapped in endless conflict, it is time to lay down your pen. Stop trying to write your own story in a relationship that is not in alignment with God's plan. Surrender the narrative to Him and allow Him to guide you out of the storm. It may be difficult, even painful, but the promise He offers is far greater than anything you could hold on to. For as C.S. Lewis said, when we lose one blessing, another is often most unexpectedly given in its place. Let go of the struggle and trust that God will provide a better future for you, a future filled with peace and clarity. The absence of peace in your relationship is not a call to fight harder. It is a call to step back and allow God to take the lead. Trust in His timing. Trust in His plan. And trust that when you surrender your life to Him, He will guide you toward a place of rest and restoration. Remember that God is not a God of chaos. He is a God of peace, harmony, and purpose. When you align your relationships with His will, you will find a peace that transcends understanding. In the Bible, the Apostle Paul encourages us, let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of one body you were called to peace. Colossians 3:15. The peace of Christ is not something that can be manufactured by our own efforts. It is a gift from God, one that we must receive with open hands. And when we do, we are able to walk through life's storms with confidence, knowing that He is with us, guiding us to the other side. If your relationship is marked by endless struggles, it may be time to pause, pray, and seek God's guidance. Do not fear the peace that He offers, for it is the way forward, the way to a future that is filled with His love and light. In the next chapter, we will examine sign 5, the danger of relationships where one person only takes and never gives. But for now, reflect on this. God calls you to peace, not conflict. If your relationship is filled with strife and unrest, listen to His voice and trust that He has something better in store for you. One of the most painful experiences in any relationship is the feeling of being taken advantage of. You give and give, your time, your energy, your love, only to find that your efforts are not returned. The relationship becomes like a one-sided river where love flows from you in abundance, but never comes back. It's draining, exhausting, and ultimately empty. If this sounds familiar, then God is trying to show you something, that this is not the love He intended for you. A relationship built on self-serving tendencies where one partner constantly takes without giving is not a relationship of true love. It is parasitic. C.S. Lewis wisely noted, "We are mirrors whose brightness is wholly derived from the sun that shines upon us." In a healthy relationship, love is a reflection of God's love. It is reciprocal, nourishing both individuals and growing stronger with each passing day. But in a parasitic relationship, one person uses the other like a candle that is constantly burning itself out, only to be left in the dark when the flame is extinguished. The person who takes without ever reciprocating is like a thief, stealing energy, love, and joy, leaving the other person empty and drained. If you find yourself in a relationship where you are constantly giving but never receiving, you are being asked to reflect on the deeper purpose of this connection. Is this truly a reflection of God's love? Or is it an illusion that keeps you in a cycle of giving without being replenished? God created us to love, but He also created us to be loved in return. True love is not about one person being consumed by the other, but about two people coming together, both giving and receiving in harmony. Let us look at the story of David and Saul in the Bible. Saul, once a king and David's mentor, turned on David out of jealousy. Despite David's loyalty, Saul rejected him and sought to destroy him. In this story, David faced constant rejection, betrayal, and abuse from Saul, even though he continued to serve him faithfully. But here's the beautiful part of this story. When David was rejected by Saul, God was not abandoning him. He was protecting him and preparing him for greater things. The rejection was not a reflection of David's worth. It was a divine redirection. In your life, when you find yourself constantly giving and not receiving, God may be showing you the same thing. Perhaps He is using this unbalanced relationship to teach you that you deserve something better. He does not want you to remain in a relationship that drains you, that leaves you empty and unfulfilled. He wants you to experience a love that is complete, a love that nourishes both people, that lifts them up and builds them stronger. There are moments when God allows us to experience rejection and heartbreak, not because He wants us to suffer, but because He is protecting us from something even worse. He may be pulling us out of a toxic situation to make room for something far more beautiful, something that reflects His love more fully. It's difficult to see in the moment, but as C.S. Lewis reminds us, the pain I feel now is the happiness I had before. That's the deal. The pain of rejection, the pain of unreciprocated love, will eventually make room for something greater. It will teach you to discern what is worth your time and energy, and it will prepare you to receive a love that is true, pure, and life-giving. Take a moment and reflect. Are you in a relationship that is draining you? Are you giving and giving, only to feel that your love is being used up with no return? If so, then it is time to ask God for wisdom. It's time to stop pouring into an empty well and to seek the relationships that will fill you, the ones that will mirror God's love, where both people give and receive in equal measure. The Bible reminds us in 1 John 4:19, we love because He first loved us. If your love is not returned, it is not a sign that you are unworthy of love. It is simply a sign that this particular relationship is not reflecting God's love. Love is a gift that is meant to flow freely, to be shared and nurtured, not exploited for selfish gain. If you are in a relationship where love is being hoarded or taken advantage of, God may be calling you to step back and reevaluate. You are not meant to live a life of one-sided love. God's love is abundant, and He wants to lead you to relationships where you are both giving and receiving, where His love is reflected in both hearts. Trust in His plan. Trust that He will lead you to people who will nourish your spirit, people who will encourage you, support you, and, above all, love you in the way that He intended. In the next chapter, we will examine sign 6, the danger of a relationship that leads you away from God. But for now, reflect on this. True love is not a one-sided affair. God created you to be loved, and to love in return. If you find yourself constantly giving without receiving, seek His wisdom and guidance, and trust that He will lead you into a relationship that reflects His perfect love. One of the most subtle dangers in any relationship is the gradual pulling away from God. It often starts small, like a quiet whisper in the back of your mind. A small compromise here, a shift in priorities there. Before long, you realize that the love and devotion you once had for God has started to fade, and you are drifting further and further from His presence. This slow erosion of faith is one of the clearest signs that God does not want you in that relationship. A relationship that leads you away from God is a relationship that is not meant to be. C.S. Lewis, in his reflection on spiritual matters, once said, "You can make anything by writing, but you cannot make yourself right with God." The truth of these words speaks to the heart of what happens when we allow the things of this world, especially relationships, to pull us away from the one who created us. The greatest temptation in life is to allow ourselves to drift away from God without even realizing it. We get caught up in the things that seem urgent, the things that seem fulfilling, but in the process, we lose sight of what truly matters: our connection with the Lord. Imagine that you are walking along a beautiful, well-marked path. The sky is clear, and the air is fresh. But as you walk, you start to notice that the path is narrowing, the trees are growing thicker, and the light is becoming dimmer. You glance to the side, and you see another path. A path that looks easier, more familiar, perhaps even more exciting. The temptation is strong to step off the well-marked road and onto this new path. But the truth is that it is leading you further away from your destination. It is drawing you into darkness, into confusion, and away from the light that you once followed so closely. This is what happens when a relationship begins to pull you away from God. It may not be immediately obvious, but slowly, over time, you start to drift from the path that God has set before you. The priorities that once centered around your faith begin to shift. Your prayers become less frequent, your Bible readings less consistent, and your connection with God grows weaker. And in place of that connection, other things that have no eternal value, start to take up more space in your life. You find yourself asking questions that you would never have entertained before, like, does it really matter if I pray today? Or, is it so bad if I miss church this week? In the Bible, we are warned about this very thing. The Apostle Paul writes, "Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character," 1 Corinthians 15:33. What he is saying is that the people we surround ourselves with have a profound impact on who we become. If you find yourself in a relationship with someone who is pulling you away from God, who encourages you to compromise your values, or who does not share your love for Christ, you are setting yourself up for spiritual decline. God's love is a constant presence in our lives, but our relationship with Him is not automatic. It requires intentionality, prayer, and effort. When someone or something begins to pull you away from that, it is a sign that God is trying to show you that this relationship is not aligned with His will for your life. A relationship that leads you further from Him is not a relationship that he has ordained. When you are in the presence of someone who does not share your faith, it can be easy to let your guard down. Perhaps they mock your prayers or dismiss your beliefs. Maybe they encourage you to skip church or abandon your convictions for the sake of convenience or approval. It's a slippery slope, and before long you may find yourself questioning things that you once held dear. But God is never silent. He speaks to us in our conscience, and if you are drifting away from Him, you will feel the unsettling whisper in your soul. This is not the path I have for you. It will say, you were created for something greater. When you feel that pull, it is time to pause and listen. It is time to ask God for clarity, for discernment, and for the courage to walk away from the relationship that is leading you into darkness. Think of the story of Daniel in the Bible. Daniel was surrounded by enemies, by people who sought to destroy his faith and his life. But despite the overwhelming pressure, Daniel stood firm. He refused to abandon his relationship with God, even when it meant facing persecution, even when it meant standing alone. And because he remained faithful, God protected him in miraculous ways. When you stand firm in your faith, when you refuse to let anything pull you away from God, He will be with you, guiding you, protecting you, and leading you into His promises. This is why it is so important to be careful about the relationships you choose. If someone is leading you away from God, then that relationship is not from Him. God's love is meant to draw you closer to Him, to inspire you to live according to His will, and to bring you closer to His heart. But if your relationship is doing the opposite, if it is causing you to drift, to compromise, and to lose your connection with God, then it is time to reevaluate. It is time to listen to His voice and to step back from the relationship that is hindering your spiritual growth. As C.S. Lewis wrote, "You are never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream. No matter how far you have drifted, it is never too late to turn back to God." If you find yourself being pulled away from Him, ask Him to help you find your way back. He is always there, ready to welcome you with open arms, ready to restore your connection to Him. In the next chapter, we will explore sign 7, how God speaks to us through dreams and visions, guiding us away from destructive relationships. But for now, reflect on this. When a relationship pulls you away from God, it is time to listen to His voice and turn back. Trust in His wisdom, and He will lead you back to the light. God speaks to us in many ways. Often it is through His word, through the whispers of our conscience, or through the people He places in our lives. But sometimes, when we are too distracted or too stubborn to hear His voice in the everyday moments, God steps in more dramatically. Through dreams and visions, these moments are not merely coincidental. They are divine interventions, carefully orchestrated by God to steer us away from danger, to warn us of paths that will lead us into destruction, and to protect us from relationships that are not meant for us. C.S. Lewis often wrote about the nature of dreams, seeing them as windows into a deeper reality. "The dreamer must wake up," he once remarked, implying that while dreams can be mysterious and confusing, they always point toward a greater truth. Likewise, the dreams and visions that God gives us are not meaningless. They are His way of grabbing our attention, of showing us things that our waking selves are too blind to see. Imagine, for a moment, that you are standing at the edge of a cliff. You can see the danger ahead, but you are too close to realize that one wrong step could send you tumbling into the abyss. Now, imagine that, in the midst of this, you have a dream. In this dream you see a warning, a vision of the path you are on, and you are shown clearly that the edge of the cliff is dangerously close. God is using the dream to warn you. He is giving you the chance to stop before it is too late, to choose a different path. The Bible is full of stories where God used dreams and visions to protect his people. Take, for example, the story of Abimelech, who nearly made a grave mistake by taking Sarah, Abraham's wife, into his household. God appeared to him in a dream and stopped him in his tracks, warning him of the sin he was about to commit. Genesis 23:7. In the same way, God uses dreams to intervene in our lives, guiding us away from the mistakes that could harm us, and protecting us from relationships that would pull us away from him. In your own life, God may send you a dream or vision that shakes you to your core. It may come in the form of a warning, showing you a relationship that is not of him, or it may manifest as a vivid, unsettling dream that forces you to reconsider the path you are on. When this happens, do not ignore it. God is trying to speak to you. He is trying to open your eyes to the truth, to show you what you cannot see in the waking world. This kind of divine intervention is not meant to be feared. It is meant to be embraced. God is showing you a better way, a way that leads to peace, to fulfillment, and to his purpose for your life. Just as Joseph was warned in a dream to flee from the wrath of King Herod, you too may receive the guidance you need to protect yourself from harm. The question is, will you listen? Will you heed the warning that God has given you? It is easy to dismiss dreams as just random occurrences of the mind. It is easy to brush aside God's whispers because they do not fit into the narrative we have created for our lives. But the truth is that God speaks to us in ways that are beyond our understanding. He may speak to you through dreams, through visions, through the still, small voice of the Holy Spirit. But the key is that he is always speaking. The question is whether we are willing to listen. Consider the story of Joseph in the New Testament, who, after discovering that Mary was pregnant, was about to quietly divorce her. But God appeared to him in a dream, revealing the truth of Mary's pregnancy and showing him that this child was the Messiah. Matthew 1:20-21. Joseph, trusting in God's message, chose to marry Mary, and in doing so, he became part of God's redemptive plan for the world. The dream, though unconventional, changed the course of his life and the course of history. God used that vision to align Joseph's will with his, ensuring that the path was set for the birth of Christ. In the same way, God may be using dreams or visions to change the course of your life. Perhaps you are in a relationship that is pulling you away from him, and God is trying to show you through a dream that it is time to step away. Perhaps you are facing a difficult decision, and he is revealing his will for you through a vivid, prophetic vision. Whatever it may be, God's guidance through dreams is a precious gift. It is a direct intervention of his love, calling you to walk in his way, to choose life and light over darkness and destruction. But even with such divine guidance, the choice is still yours. God does not force his will upon us. He respects our free will, but he continually invites us to walk in his light, to follow his leading. When he speaks to us in dreams and visions, he is not forcing us to act. He is offering us an opportunity to choose. Will you trust him enough to listen? Will you have the courage to follow his path, even if it means stepping away from the familiar, from the relationship that seems right, but is ultimately not in alignment with His plan for your life. God's dreams and visions are not meant to be ignored. They are divine moments of clarity, offering you the chance to realign your life with His will. And when you do, you will find that He has something far greater in store for you. A life filled with peace, purpose, and joy. A life that is built on the foundation of His love. As we conclude this series, take a moment to reflect on the lessons we have learned. God does not want you to be trapped in destructive relationships. He is constantly sending you signs, speaking to you through your experiences, through His Word, and even through dreams and visions. If you are in a relationship that pulls you away from Him, it's time to listen to His voice, to trust that He has something better for you, and to step into the future He has prepared for you. Remember, the pain I feel now is the happiness I had before. Every trial, every heartbreak, every moment of suffering is not without purpose. It is part of God's greater plan to refine you, to lead you to something better. Trust in His wisdom and know that He is always with you, guiding you toward a life of peace and fulfillment. If this story has resonated with you, take a moment to reflect. Are there relationships in your life that are pulling you away from God? Are there dreams or signs you have ignored that God has sent to guide you? Now is the time to listen, to trust in His plan, and to follow the path He has set before you. We invite you to comment and share your thoughts on this message. If you found this story inspiring, please subscribe to the C.S. Lewis channel for more reflections and teachings that can help guide you in your walk with God.
On that cross, your enemies were put to shame.